which is the management. Now, I like to draw it like that because obviously the management is supposed to be infusing across its own boundaries by osmosis or whatever the process it's supposed to control, and the process is infusing out into the environment, which in the case of manufacturing would be the market, and this is the manufacturing factory. So that is the basic model of a viable system. Now what we need to do is pull this apart in order to discuss it more fully. And what I'm going to do is draw my circle there, my box there, and my circle there, and my amoeboid shape there. And instead of all this woolly business about how this is to be disseminated, I am going to put a simple thing like that. So I'm saying the management has influenced the process, and the process will come back and influence the management, and the process will affect the environment, and the environment will affect the process. So that is our basic model. So these are the three things that are going to formulate the system one. So going back, if this is the whole thing we're dealing with is defence, now that's the Army, that is also the Navy, that is also the Air Force. It looks like that. Now, what can we say about this? Now, I've tried very hard to rattle you about the question of variety. And there's a hell of a lot of variety milling around there, which I've reduced to 4 arrows. Now, can we think of anything to say about that variety that's depicted flowing on those 4 arrows? Apart from the fact that there are dozens and dozens of arrows which are all encapsulated in one.
Are we assuming that they're matched?
Aha, exactly. Well, are they?
No, but is that what we're to assume because there is one of each?
No, we're not to assume anything.
No.
We've written this model on the mirror, and now we're going to ask what we know about the variety. Have a go, because there's some things we can say.
What goes into something must come out.
Very true, yes, but that's not what I'm after. Now, do you remember I was saying to you that it's frightening to think you've got to measure all these possible states, but you probably don't have to, because do you remember the example of who does this coat fit? Mm-hmm. Now, if you think in those terms of relative variety, who has the bigger variety, the management box or the process?
Process.
Obviously, isn't it? Obviously. The management isn't going to note that you on machine number 6 have blue eyes, although you have. No, you haven't. Sorry. No offense. The management, I mean, all those details are in place and constitute part of the variety, which may or may not be important. For instance, eyes suddenly become important if you start flashing welding guns, what do you call it, oxyacetylene around. So you never know what's going to be relevant, but what you do know for sure is that the variety of the process is greater than the variety of the management. Now then, requisite variety, problems. And what about the relationship between the process and the environment?
The environment's more complex.
Obviously, again, quite obviously. So without actually measuring anything, we know fine that this is the inequality we're dealing with. There's a big V there, and a smaller V there, and a very small V there. And the mathematical symbolism for this is that this is very much smaller than that, and this is very much smaller than that. That is the mathematical inequality that we have to deal with. Now, so let's take it easy, calmly. two things you can do, actually, if you think about it in general terms. What can you possibly do? Yes. Reduce the variety of what? So you want to reduce that bottom arrow. Right. And then you could reduce the one going into the management. Okay? What else can you do? Precisely. Increase the variety going up. Now, there's very little symbolism required here, but I'd like you to get hold of it because it's useful to us. These symbols come from ordinary electrical engineering. This symbol is an attenuator. That means reduce variety. This symbol is also an attenuator, and this symbol is an amplifier. Now we've got the whole story in a nutshell. Very fast too. And I submit that that will apply to anything you care to analyze. So the question is, what management techniques are available to us to effect these amplifications and these attenuations? Now, I have challenged audiences, particularly senior management audiences, for 30 years to tell me a single management technique that isn't one of those four things. Nobody has ever succeeded. So I'm asking you, name a management technique. You know, they're the sort of things that people buy by the bushel and run up the Mars hill and everybody has to salute.
TQM.
TQM.
Quality management.
Perfect example. Now what's that supposed to be doing?
That's the problem everybody has.
I'll say.
It's supposed to be making everybody involved in the company see that their input is important to the total end quality of the end product.
Yeah, that's right. Well, now put it in terms of our model. What's it doing on this line, this bottom line here, which is the attenuation line? What is TQM doing there?
It's making people more responsible for what they're doing so that they don't mess up.
Absolutely right, except that I think that's the next one.
Alright, so
There's a process affecting the management. You're making people more responsible. And on this side, you're trying to convince your customers, for example, that they come first, that quality matters, and all that jazz, which is to attenuate their variety, because if you're successful, you cut down complaints, everything's sweetness and light. Now, you will know if the system is in balance because you will be in homeostasis. And the interesting thing about having to measure variety and so on is that if it's working, you don't have to, because everything is sweet. Now, Ansby calls that situation a self-vetoing homeostat, by which he means that the messages on all four of those lines are, I'm okay. Instead of, here's my balance sheet, here is my this against that, and this is how I've succeeded and failed. It just says, I'm all right. How about you?
black box a little bit.
Absolutely a black box. Precisely correct. Now this is very exciting because we can begin to see, I told you right early on that I see management as the process of coping with complexity and not managing their materials, machinery and money. Well, here it comes, you see. We are trying to handle the complexity which will engulf us if we don't handle it. So let's take another example. We've had TQM. What else do you do in management?
Just in time.
That's not very cool shit, before. Yes, just in time management. Well, you mentioned it. Tell me what it is here. It's so obvious, isn't it?
I didn't expect to say that. I think here again, it comes in. The problem is you mentioned it between you. Two are interlinked, but it's effectively people taking responsibility to minimise.
Well, it's more than responsibility this time because you are dealing with the flood of variety that would otherwise engulf you if you ordered everything randomly in advance. And you saying, I'm not going to order this until I need it. So it's a huge attenuance on this line, it's just time management.
On which line is that? The media
This one.
Right. Isn't it also the amplifier management process?
Ah, we haven't had an amplifier yet, so.
Isn't it the fact that you're increasing the variety of the management by, in a way, making the job, I don't know, slightly, well, complicated, but it increases the variety of management, isn't it? Like isn't it an amplifier on the management?
I'm not sure.
process?
You see, look here, there's no school book answer to this, because what you find is that because these are real life techniques, that they appear all over the place. The only point of trying to identify them is to understand the machinery. Now, I don't think that just-in-time management is usefully described on the amplifier loops. I think it's very much about cutting down the variety of all the capital investment and hoo-ha-ha that's involved in the purchasing system. I'm talking now, of course, about the Manchester Factory Company. We have to bear in mind our other things as well. I don't think except the whole thing is
How about looking at project management? Would that be an amplifier? Because you're looking at
yes,
a complex situation
right.
and you're having to cope with the people, equipment, and you're making it more complex and you're trying to manage that complex project.
Yeah, I think that's right, Jane. So you're looking at that amplifier from the square to the circle, right?
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
And you were saying, well, I'm going to focus something in order to amplify me as a manager. I will have a project team with this task. And that goes round that loop, of course, because they're reporting back the other way. I think so. You're just trying to find out the difference.
I agree it's an amplifier, but I think I would have said from the process, the circles the process
Yeah.
to the
Environment.
environment.
Well, it depends what sort of project it is. It could easily be. I mean, the one that I think Jane had in mind was if you send a production engineer out from the management square with a process